All right, so let's move on to our last segment. We've got some waiver wire things that we're looking at, and I'm calling these hot waiver wire players. We're looking at some of the transaction trends over the recent days, and these players are flying off the waiver wires. I know a few of them have gone off in our league, and basically just talking about these players and whether or not we think that they deserve the amount of attention that they're getting. And whether you should look to add them and in what situations, basically. So I'm going to start with the hot man of the hour. The last two games he's been putting together for the where does he play? The Detroit Pistons. And I've never seen this man play. I haven't watched him yet, but Saben Lee is the guy who the last couple of games has been on fire. What do you think we should do with Saben Lee, Cal?
He had a great game, didn't he? The 21-point game,
Yeah.
had a lot of minutes. Because he plays for Detroit, it's always going to be a bit of a question mark,
Yeah.
sadly. But look, in the past day, he's gone from 0% owned to 15% owned. So it's rising.
Spike. Yeah.
It is.
The most added player in the last few days. So definitely someone who's a hot topic. Obviously, you've got a few things going on here. You've had Detroit, along with Orlando, just have had the worst luck when it comes to their point guards. So Delon Wright is injured. They've obviously traded away Derrick Rose, and obviously Killian Hayes is still dealing with that hip issue. So I think for at least the next 2 weeks, he is someone that you should look to add if you're after some assists and steals. And I don't think he's going to score as well as he has been. I think he'll definitely cool down there. But I definitely think the assists and steals are going to be real. They obviously need offense on this team because they're obviously pretty trash. But I just want to temper a bit of expectations. I don't think this is going to be a season-long ad. I think ride it while you can. Don't drop anyone of season-long value to get him. But if you want to stream him in for the next week or two, then I think it's fine. It's a fine ad.
I'll actually do a shout out on a similar boat at Detroit. Is Dennis Smith Jr. He was traded in the Derrick Rose trade, and he's putting up teens in minutes. So he's kind of replacing Derrick Rose, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he does get elevated into the starting role at some point, just to trial it out. And with someone like Tate putting up 28 minutes a game, Dennis Smith Jr.'s playing the backup point guard role. You never know. And so I'd probably just keep both those two guys on my watch list.
Yeah, fair enough. But you would add Saben over Dennis Smith?
I think Dennis Smith might actually have more long-term potential. But I don't know. I actually might even go Dennis Smith.
Really? I don't think either of them have long-term potential. So that for that reason, I would rather take my chances on Saben Lee. He's been putting up numbers and he's the hotter player right now. If I'm adding either of these players, that's all it's for. So for me, I'm taking Saben Lee and just seeing how it works out. Obviously, in the last couple of games, he's been shooting a great percentage, and I wouldn't be surprised if even the next game he comes out and doesn't play nearly as well. He's shot 57% in game one and then 73% in game two. So that's obviously not sustainable. But like I said, the steals and assists are probably going to be there. Let's move on to the next guy, the next hot waiver wire ad, Josh Hart. What are your thoughts on Josh Hart as an ad? He's obviously putting up some decent rebounds for a guard and has always been able to do that. Had a big game last game with 17 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks for a shooting guard as well. Playing big minutes. Do you think he's someone that is worthy of an ad?
100%. I can go pick him up. He's definitely entered more of the closing lineup for New Orleans now. So Stan Van Gundy's put some faith in him. He's run it with him. He's one of those glue guys who can do it all, can pass, he attacks the hoop. He can get you some defensive stats too. Gets you the odd steal or block. He's just a classic net positive. Doesn't hurt you. Will always contribute. Gets rebounds. Gets some threes. I guess some nights he might have the off shooting night, but he's definitely go pick him up if he's on your waiver wire.
Yeah, I see this guy having a bit more compared to Saben Lee, a bit more of a long-term value. It looks to me like the Pelicans are going to continue a bit more of a rebuild. And I think in the last game, he played over Eric Bledsoe down the stretch. So Bledsoe is another guy who maybe even might trend towards a drop candidate soon. I don't think that he's someone you could maybe continue to hold, but I think he might even eventually start over a Bledsoe in the future. I don't have super high hopes. I don't think he's going to be like a groundbreaking player, but a solid player, like you said, that's not going to hurt you anywhere. huge rebounds for a guard, get you some defensive stats, and every now and again he'll put in some decent points. So don't get super excited, but if he's there and you're looking for those sort of, okay stats, good rebounds from a guard, he's someone I would consider. All right, let's move on to the next guy, and he's a hometown hero for me, for my Celtics. It's Time Lord himself, Robert Williams. Now, I've got a fair bit to say on Robert, but I'll throw it over to you first. What are we doing with the Time Lord? Is he someone that we should have on our rosters? I know he's owned in our league. Do you think he should be?
He should be owned. Purely because of blocks. He's probably the only time you would get him. I guess field goal is good as well. It'd just be those two categories. And when he does get minutes, he performs. You've said it before. He's a permanent beast. So he's been putting up good stats recently. I mean, he had his 8-13 4-block game. He had a 12-7 4-block game. So look, he's definitely a kind of a matchup guy. If he's on the waiver wire and you can kind of pick him up just based on, he's going up against other big men, he'll get more minutes. If you can predict things like that, it's a huge win. But he's always going to be a very on and off kind of player to have.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's going to be extremely inconsistent. I think we highlighted him in our stashes video that we did a little while back. And obviously, I think the potential there is enormous. He's the 95th ranked player in literally 15 minutes. So that's pretty crazy. That's like Chris Boucher kind of per minute production. I think right now at this stage, though, I think he's a luxury stash. I think you're only really holding him if you need that category and you're at the top of the standings and you can afford to sort of carry a bloke through, and in the hopes that perhaps there's a trade from the Celtics point of view, which there very well could be. I think he is a likely person to at least either free up into the minutes or get traded somewhere else by the Celtics. I think that could be a likely scenario, but I think that's how you're going to have to view him at this stage. If you're going to add him expecting him to perform like this now, or even there was a quote by Brad Stevens saying that his minutes are going to peak later in the season. I don't know how true that is. I think that might be a bit of like media chat, or even like just pumping up his trade value, perhaps, to trick teams into thinking that's why he's not playing that many minutes or something like that. I don't know. I don't see a path for him getting more than 20 to 22 minutes a game on the Celtics team, because there's too much depth in that front court of similar sort of level players. Do you think that if he stays on the Celtics that he's going to be worth rostering come like fantasy playoffs?
Potentially. I don't know. Like that front court lineup's a bit strange. They do generally have three big men and Tyus, Tristan, and Williams. It's just, I think Brad dislikes this based on the matchup. He's kind of the biggest body, and he can throw him out there when he needs to. I don't see him really changing at all from what we've seen this season. And I will say that his average is 92 on Basketball Monster. When you actually punt turnovers, which I do recommend people do, he drops to 113 for the season. So, and that's just big. Obviously, when you don't get many minutes, you don't get any turnovers.
Yeah. So I think personally, I think he's a bit of a stash at this point, and a stash really only if there's a trade happening or an injury to one of those big guys. If there's an injury, go ahead, pick him up straight away. Don't hesitate. He's going to be a beast. But without one of those two things happening, I don't really want him on my fantasy team when I'm relying him on fantasy playoffs if he's still on this Celtics roster. But if you're at the top of the standings, you need those categories: steals and blocks, rebounds, field goal percentage. Then you might be able to sort of hold him on and just sort of see how it happens, because it could be a Christian Wood move of last year. I know I'm holding him in a dynasty league, so that is something that I am hoping that will happen. All right, let's move on. I want to touch on another hot guy, which I actually picked up today or yesterday when this video comes out. It worked out for me. Jalen Brunson for the Dallas Mavericks. This guy is on fire right now and seems to be entrenched in the Dallas rotation. They often run a strict sort of 7 to 8 man rotation, and I think that this is someone you can add. They've got a good sort of good game schedule this week, so you can add him in and he'll get games on your teams because they're low volume days. So if you need points, threes, good free throw percentage, a couple of assists, I think he's definitely someone to consider adding. What are your thoughts on Jalen?
Yeah, I love it. He went up 12% in the past day. I think this is definitely a trending kind of playbook for him. He's definitely kind of like that backup point guard. He runs the court. He plays really well. He can close games with Luka as well. So that's why he's been so worthwhile. He's putting up 28 minutes a game over the past 2 weeks and putting up 17, 4, and 4. That's valuable. If you can pick that up on the waiver wire, that's pretty damn good. So he's definitely worth. I definitely, if he's on my waiver wire, I'm picking him up.
Yeah, too bad I was too quick for you, mate.
That was a good ad. Great ad.
Yeah, well, look, on the season, he's ranked 154th for the season in 24 minutes. And look, he doesn't provide you any defensive stats, no blocks and no steals, but the field goal percentage, the free throw percentage, threes, points, assists, low turnovers for a guard, just like someone, if you're punting blocks or you're punting steals, excellent in value, and someone that you could probably roster for the rest of the season, because I think his role is pretty safe. I don't think, that they sort of run, like I was saying, a 7-man rotation. And between him, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Josh Richardson, on any given night, they could go off or they could all go off. So he would be someone that I would add for the short term, but maybe even long, sort of hold for the long term if you need those stats. Let's move on to a couple of Houston Rockets. We're going to talk about David Nwaba and Jae'Sean Tate as a few hot waiver wires. What are your thoughts on these two, Cal?
Well, we've seen Nwaba go up recently because they actually played really well. I think it was today or yesterday. Had a 22-point game. Really efficient from the field as well. So he is one of those guys who's just going to fit in. He plays a shooting guard, so when Oladipo rests, he'll always be kind of explode, I think, in terms of the minutes played, and can get up there. So he's probably worth adding for now. He probably will cool off the next couple of weeks, but he will be one of those guys. If you see Oladipo's resting, he's definitely worth picking up.
Yeah. Well, Oladipo's sort of, he's out at the moment. So I definitely think he's a great short-term ad for Nwaba. I think Jae'Sean Tate is an excellent long-term ad. With the news of Boogie Cousins, obviously not going to play for this team anymore. He's sort of like an undersized power forward. And he's actually really impressed me this year. I've been watching a few of his games. Just very crafty, always in the right spots. Is shooting an excellent field goal percentage. And seems to be improving as the season goes on. And it wouldn't shock me if he's a top 100 player from here on out. Going to give you excellent field goal percentage, decent points, rebounds, and some defensive stats and steals. Maybe a trickle of assists and rebounds in there as well, and maybe just a few threes there. But someone who I definitely think deserves to be on all rosters, and I'm actually going to call him a must add, basically, of all these players that we've talked about. I think he is the best in terms of long-term value that we've talked about. So if he is on your waiver wire, I think he is probably, of all the players that we've talked about, the highest priority ad, because he's got value right now and I think for the rest of the season.
Yeah, the past 14 days, he's 51 on Yahoo.
Yeah.
I will say, Yahoo, you need to change his position. He is not just a shooting guard.
He's not a shooting guard. Yeah. I don't know what that's about.
At least put small forward in there as well.
Yeah. What are you doing, Yahoo? They're usually pretty slow on those sort of things, and sometimes really random. So that is a bit frustrating for me. A few times I'm like, why can't I put him as my forward? What the heck?
Plays like a forward.
Yeah, I know. He's a beast. To touch on Nwaba, I don't know. I think he's fine to add for the moment. Do you know how long Oladipo's out? I think he's out for a little bit at the moment. I'll just do a quick little check. But he's, again, someone who's going to benefit with Cousins being out. They're going to play smaller, obviously a bit more. He's a good rebounding kind of guard.
So it's a right foot sprain. So he's questionable for Wednesday, which means he could be back really anytime soon.
He's not too far away. But he's been resting back-to-backs the entire season. So, that's something. And they've got a back-to-back coming up March 1st and 2nd. So I think, he's definitely someone you consider adding for the short term. I'm not too excited about it, to be honest.
Me neither.
Players we've talked about so far, he's probably the least exciting. But if you need some steals and some rebounds, might be someone to add. All right, let's touch on the last player for today. And I'm going to talk about Derrick Jones Jr. What are your thoughts about airplane mode?
Blocks, man. Blocks.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, he is killing it, especially the past couple of weeks. I mean, I'll just read out the blocks column the past few games. 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. That's some good reliability on the block end. And we know that's valuable. So if he can keep it up, he's getting the minutes. He's definitely worth adding. He might fall off. I'm not super excited for him, but if you have a team that needs blocks, even if it's like a week-to-week thing, and you're a bit low on blocks and you might need to pull it at home in the last couple of days, you could definitely pick him up.
Yeah, I think he's in the last couple of weeks he's the 110th ranked player on a 9-category league. He's boosted up by the fact that he's only averaging half a turnover a game, so it's a little bit of fool's gold there. So he's very fringe worthy, I think. But like you said, if you need the blocks, the rebounds and field goal percentage is decent. Free throw percentage, be aware of. He's not taking many attempts, but 65%. Something that you may need to take into account. Don't expect huge scoring nights day to day. Even though the Blazers are injured, his scoring is still not really there. So he'll continue to see decent minutes, and he's been starting for them all season. But I think right now, when their Trailblazers are still injured, he's someone to consider. And then when they get healthy again, Nurkic comes back, McCollum comes back, you can drop him and move on. But yeah, someone who I can consider. Even steals as well. He in the past has put up some decent steal numbers, as well as those blocks also. So again, not someone super exciting that I think you should rush out compared to some of the other names, but yeah, consider him. Alrighty. Well, that might do it for us today, guys. If you are listening along on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, let your friends know about us, even though we might be helping you win your league. Let them know anyway. It's always more fun when you beat competitive people. I know it's fun when I beat people in our league, even though I'm telling them all my thoughts and everything like that. Even though I've struggled this season.
Look, I'm winning. I'm telling them all my thoughts, and I'm still winning. That's what matters.
Still pumping the league, and I'm sure it's satisfying for you, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. It is. Yeah. It is great.
So let your mates know about it. Make your league more competitive, and subscribe to the channel. Listen to us over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Twitter at BallBoysNBA. We post some things over there when breaking news happens or injuries happens on which players to add straight away, and don't wait for the podcast to drop out. All right, we'll catch you guys next time. See you later. Bye.